And just like that, we're back for Fast Peak last week. Not a whole lot to chat about this week, but we figured it's been a while since we did the podcast, so we might as well check back in with you guys.
Yeah, kind of a quiet
What's
week.
up?
Cole figured this would be a short show. Just a couple topics I wanted to hit on. A few tweets I saw. Maybe we're reaching for content at this point.
Yeah. Well, let's jump right into it then. One of those tweets, this is coming from @NadeShot. It says 100 Thieves wins Valorant first strike. What? We're champions, baby. We're champions.
Cole, we're back, baby.
It happened, baby.
Ooh, it feels good. Ooh, it feels good to be a champ again. The banner, the banners they hang. Chef's kiss. They look great. The trophy looks fantastic, Cole. I don't know.
They
if
made
you
it in
saw
our colors. They said, let's just go ahead and go with red because that's probably how it's going to work out.
Yeah. The artist sketch, Cole, the first one was just an all black mass of an accent of white, and they're like, nah, this feels wrong. Black and red. There's
something
a color
about it. Yeah.
Black and red.
Well, look,
cool.
I'm going to let Jordan run his show here in a second, but let me just say this. We're going to be talking to you guys for longer tonight than we typically do because we're champions and we're going to enjoy that. But we will for the first part of the show, we'll still follow our normal format of hitting topics in rapid succession.
It's got to be at least one thing that resembles a fast peak on this show, Cole.
That's right.
So we're going to get some topics. But before we do that, Cole, I am powered tonight, and as always, by the best tasting energy drink in the universe. It's Rip It. I don't know about you. What's your...
I am, but it's in the fridge.
Yeah, that's fine. Look,
I'll see if I can arrange for a delivery here.
And I'll start talking. You queue up your delivery service. I'll pop it, and I'll pour it as I do. And look, let's jump right into the topics because we got a lot to talk about, and we got a very special guest. I don't even know if we can call Simo a guest anymore. He's been on about as many of these as I have. But we'll keep calling him a guest. Hey, yeah, and this is gonna be fun. Let's have some fun. Chat. Spam your trophy emotes if you got them. Little Thieves is doing it right.
Yeah.
I hear some air horn blasts are in order. We'll get to those too. All right, Cole. Are you ready to fast peak last week?
Let's go.
Let's go. Cole, newsflash, we're the champs again. How do you feel? I think we've expressed how we feel, but talk me through. How are you feeling? What does it feel like to be able to say Valorant champions? No one else can say that, just us.
Yeah, and I talked about this before, how we were on the path to developing this kind of complex with how esports performs for 100 Thieves. Like, it was looking a little shaky, whether justified or not. It just, the perception of it was that we weren't having a lot of success in esports. And if you keep following that path, things can get ugly after a while. So as a fan, I'm feeling like we got the dang monkey off of our back, which is really nice because now, it's not hoodie org, it's hoodie and trophy org.
That's right. Trophies, plural. We got them. Banners. Here's what it tells me, Cole. Well, all right. Fortnite is always going to have the asterisk because we dominate Fortnite. It just doesn't draw the same eyes that competitive esports like Valorant and COD, League of Legends do. It's a different type of viewer, I think. So let's not take anything away from the Fortnite players and the people who put that squad together. Here's what it tells me, and here's how I feel. COD wasn't a fluke, right? That was back-to-back championships. That was back-to-back banners. And now you cannot say you just got lucky with that squad. The mechanisms that are in place, the people who are making decisions and calling shots are capable of putting together multiple championship rosters. That's what this tells me. And yeah, it is. It's the relief of just knowing now. The memes will still come. They'll still be there. They'll probably have to get a little bit more creative for a little bit before they resort back to just the old tired memes. I'm thinking specifically if League of Legends isn't as big a hit. Mm-hmm. But for now, we're kind of on top, and that feels real good. One thing I do wonder about is just when will we start to get the respect that I think we're owed? And I'm not feeling it quite yet. We're going to talk more about that, but that's my other feeling is eventually people aren't going to be able to kind of have these cop-out answers or these, well, they're not going to be able to hedge when they talk about us and how competitive we are.
Yeah, but the thing is, we've etched our name in history. Like, we're the winners of the first Riot major. You know what I
Fluke.
mean? And you cannot take that away from us.
Right.
So
It's ours. The trophy's ours. It'll be in a display case, and we'll be able to see it in a Gabe Ruiz
and
production
yeah,
very soon.
it's not going to be like Fnatic's League of Legends win or whatever, season 1 win.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Everybody showed up to this one, Cole. Everybody played. Speaking of everybody, we played against TSM, Cole. I don't know if you knew.
Who's that?
I'm gonna call it a rivalry. Not everybody's prepared to. I'm gonna call it a rivalry, and here's why: because they smacked us, we smacked them back, and then we hit them with the other hand. We got 2 smacks in. So in my mind, the ledger stands that we are ahead in this rivalry. I don't know if you heard on Immortal Minds today. Hayes was on there talking about how he's not sure we're the rivals yet. He's still thinking about Sentinels. He still likes Sentinels. Let me tell you what I think. We talked about this a lot. We've had a bit of a complex in the past because we've sought that rivalry in League of Legends specifically, and we never could find it. And here's why: because we could never beat these other teams with the consistency you would need to call them a rival. Call yourself a rival.
That's
you have
the
to
thing,
earn that title.
Right.
You have to earn the title. Getting beat in the first ever championship, if that's not enough to call us a rival, I think it's because you're scared. I think it's because you don't want us. You would rather move on to a foe you consider to be an easier opponent. I can't think of any other reason why you wouldn't call us a rival. What do you think, Cole?
Well, there are a couple reasons. Like, there are a couple factors I think that go in. There is an element of respect that TSM and 100 Thieves have for each other that you can tell. Like, even with Hayes being a salty old man, like, we know he is, there's still a definite respect level. And they were, TSM was very openly tweeting this, right? Like, if you followed all the accounts and Myth himself, Myth did a great clip on Twitch where he was like, no, we're not going to take this away from them. Like, they beat us today. They were the better team today. Like, this, you can't take that away. So there's that respect in there, which, like, you can still have a great rivalry with a lot of respect between the opponents, right? But it's not going to be that, like, maybe bad feeling rivalry where things get, like, really intense between two teams, like you might see in other sports, or you might see between even, like, maybe TSM and Sentinels have that going on a little bit.
Right.
And possibly, depending on how matches go in the future, possibly 100 Thieves and Envy even. So I don't know. To me, it feels like because we had such a banger of a match that this is going to go down as a recorded moment in history, and we're going to have back and forth with them about it going on. So I'm pumped.
Next time we play them, you had better not be mistaken. The pre-match hype reel is going to be talking all about this tournament, right? How could you not? So I think it's there. I take your points. There's a little bit of a storyline in it too, right? So we'll see. But let's move on to the next topic, Cole. We're on the clock again here. I'm just going to start it off with a quote. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. And what I understand, Cole, is that LeBron, he later on said that he sort of regretted that. And I don't think we should make a similar a claim here, but I'm curious what you think. What are the chances that we see a back-to-back or beyond for this squad moving into, there's going to be multiple events. The structure of this is a bit unclear, absolutely, what the next major will be that we have to compete for. But I'm talking majors. I want banners and trophies. What do you think?
Yeah, from what I can tell, they're going to do 3 majors and then a Worlds event for next year. So I think starting in March is the next major event. I'm going to learn my lesson from LeBron, and I'm going to say that, like, I don't think that we're necessarily, like, so far ahead of the other teams that this is just going to be, we're going to rack up banners. Like, I don't have that level of confidence in us. Well, I have confidence in us, you know what I mean? But it's like, you're not going to win them all. So I'm not going to, like, expect 100 Thieves to win every major going forward, especially because it almost feels like, and we'll talk about this more, it almost feels like there's going to be, like, when we first started playing, we were kind of catching up to the other teams coming together as a team, right? Because we had less time. it seems like all the teams are going to be subject to this strategic catching up, like how to play the game instead of just individual skill, like playing as a team, integrating the like CS:GO strategies and everything, like playing the game the way that ultimately will be the best way to play it.
Yep.
And then so there will be like this back and forth with all the teams, and I expect other teams to develop further synergy and kind of close the gap that we kind of had with our boomers and their CS:GO, like, chops.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not gonna count him up like LeBron did, but we might. I think we have a decent shot of earning trophies like LeBron has.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. When we won the first banner with the COD team, going into the next major, it felt like we were the runaway favorites, and I expected us to win. And I don't know what I'm going to have to see between now and the next major to say that isn't my going in assumption. We just looked that good. It's not that I've suddenly have this expectation that if we ever lose again, we're failures. We just really outplayed people, and I think we'll continue to get better. I really think that this is not the best iteration of this squad you'll ever see compete in Valorant. So that's scary. If I'm suiting up to play against these guys, I'm feeling a little nervous about what else they can cook up in the intervening 2 to 3 months. That's going to be a lot, and it's going to be a lot for people to try to keep up with. So yeah, I won't put a number on it either, but I will say I'm feeling confident.
Yeah.
And let's talk about now the last topic on our quick hit list, which is, Cole, what does this mean? What does this banner mean to us to have another banner hanging at the rafters? We talked about this a little bit, but specifically for the organization, how does this change the status of the org?
Status of the org is a great thing to bring up. So I don't know if you looked at the winners from all the regions in First Strike. We are the only, like, I don't know. I think of us as like a tier 1 esports org, right? Yeah. We're the only one of those like teams that won their region. You look at all of them. It's like teams that are brand new or smaller or whatever. You don't see, the G2s. You don't see the FPXs. You don't see Team Liquid. You don't see T1. You don't see C9. So that actually, I think, is going to be a big deal. Like, I think that's really cool for us to be the only like really established esports org that really took home a title. So super pumped about that. And then also just like, if you are a 100 Thieves staff, like say you're Melk and you've been reading so much trash talk of the job that you've done over the past, year or so, he's gotten a lot of criticism his way. And 100 Thieves in general has too. So to come out and win the first like title that you have an opportunity to win.
Yep.
That's like validation. It's like, all right, doubt me, but I just won.
Right. And this is one of those chances where we put resources into this, right? We tried once, we decided that was not the right direction. We tried again. We basically put up and we delivered. Like, that's huge. That's huge confidence in the esports organization as a pillar. Let me talk about a tweet. I have no idea where the timer's at because I was 3 for 4.
You have 30 seconds left.
Start. 30 seconds. Perfect. That's all I need. One of the most influential tweets I saw on me in the last 24 hours, it was a member of 2Hype saying, it feels good to be part of a championship organization, right? So that's clout, right? That's clout not only to people who are looking in at us, it's the message we send to the members of our team who want to be associated with greatness, right? And you can have the best apparel and you can develop all that hype and you can reach all the milestones on YouTube and Twitter. Those are all very important things. None of it has the same clout as actually having a trophy. And this organization is built on all 3 of those things. And we've seen that time and time again. This is just demonstrating it to me, right? The way you attract new people who are exciting and who will do new things with your organization is by proving that you are not 1 or 2 dimensional, but we're 3 dimensional. And I'd say we can say that now.
Yeah. And
boom.
Dang, that feels good. Also, you know what else feels good? My sneaky rip it delivery.
Hey,
yes,
you and I, friend,
let's go, baby.
Stitch your sex. This one's for you.
Yeah, we gotta have your favorite flavor on a time where you're really, really celebrating. So
it's true.
On that note, as I sip the rip, I think we should bring on our friend here.
I would agree. Simo, So good to see you. So good to see your
Simo,
smiling
welcome
face.
back, dude. Timo, 100 Timo.
100
Look,
Timo, yes.
everybody had a lot on the line this weekend. Simo is one of those rare people who is equal parts excited because he loves both these teams so much. There's no lose condition for you in this. It's beautiful. And you are a student of the game. You
Yes.
came to watch good Valorant. You got exactly what you were hoping for. The casters showed up and popped off too. So what did you think, man? How did you feel coming out of this weekend?
It was honestly eye-opening. There's a lot to see from the Europe side. They were playing something that was not normally standard in terms of what agent comps you'd normally see. They were playing things like Sage, and they were bringing in just a variety of different compositions that don't normally fit within the North American region. And then here from North America, it was, to be fair, honestly, a lot of the matches felt somewhat to a certain degree kind of like coin flippy. The fact that we saw two O's kind of across the board felt very interesting to see.
Yeah.
But overall, the grand final, I definitely think we got what we asked for, like a competitive series. TSM was trying to heat up, trying to cook up, but 100 Thieves just man. I mean, we'll get into it, but just man,
Yeah.
damn.
It was good stuff. Yeah. It was I know, in that respect, I'm kind of glad we didn't get a sweep because, well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would have been happy with sweep. But from a pure fan standpoint, right? There's a part of this where you want to develop the best viewing experience. And I saw a ton of people as well who are more or less unaffiliated with the scene saying, this is fun to watch. So I have to imagine that from a pure viewer perspective, Riot is super happy with how this went. There were so many intense moments, so many times that it came down to a single shot or a single play. Like that's what you dream up if you're developing a competitive title. So yeah, I think we all win, at least in that regard. This is Neural Theft with Simo. Welcome to the segment. Let's start off. I want to revisit some predictions. So we had you on the show before main event. We talked about, I think last time we did one of these was after we'd placed, and then got kind of quiet for a while. But you've been following every open qualifier, every lead up to this, and so you've watched a lot of Valorant. I know you make predictions as well. So just help us remember. We don't have to revisit your prediction success rate here, but is this more or less what you expected from 100 Thieves, or were you surprised by what you saw?
To be fair, like I had them going through towards the grand final in my predictions. I think looking at the way that their bracket was supposed to unfold, T1 was definitely going to be a difficult opponent, but for some reason they just maybe didn't show up on the day. If they had shown up a little bit stronger, that might have been a little bit more of a competitive series, because I think the play style that T1 offers might be a little bit more different to how 100 Thieves would have to play it. T1 play a very slow, methodical play style, and 100 Thieves can really turn up the heat or not, or really depending on how they want to play out the defense or the offense. And then once you get into the second round matchup, you've got Sentinels or FaZe. If it was up against FaZe, it would have been very spicy, very explosive. But as you might have heard already today on Immortal Minds, like they need a little bit more coaching, they need a little bit more refinement, or their wild side can finally be tamed. And so as a result, it's pretty obvious and pretty straightforward as to why Sentinels were able to best them there. But that was when the matchup, I think, could have really gone either way. There's been all this hubbub and conversation about whether or not Sentinels has really been showing up in these open qualifiers and closed qualifier events. Like once they qualify, they just kind of like throw their hands up and like, okay, we made it. Well, here's a top 8 where you can't just throw your hands up. Like it's you've made it, sure, and you've made it to semifinals, but I don't imagine Sentinels are extremely happy with that. You also have to consider the team morale. They didn't practice because due to one of the players, Shazam, his father had passed away. There's a lot of factors. I don't want to call them excuses, but there's a lot of factors to consider and how the run kind of unfolded. And then I think also moving into the grand final, but even let's remove that from the equation, I still think 100 Thieves is slightly better than Sentinels. Just because Sentinels is really well known for their utility usage. But guess what? We saw so much out of 100 Thieves in the grand final, just using every single credit, every single utility piece till the drop, milking it till the cows come home. Just everything was used. And it was beautiful to watch. It was beautiful Valorant to watch. So yeah, like I think really the only thing that I really got wrong was I predicted FaZe to make it into that matchup against 100 Thieves, and I predicted Envy to be the matchup to face up against 100 Thieves. And you guys were
Right.
talking about rivals. I think Envy's probably the biggest rival for 100 Thieves right now. They
Yeah.
beat the TSM, they beat Sentinels. They gotta go around
Yeah.
the block. They can't just knock on 2 doors and say I'm happy with the Girl Scout cookies that I've sold. I need to hit the whole neighborhood. I gotta hit everybody. Okay. So they got to hit Cloud9. They have to hit Envy.
Yep.
They have to hit all. They got to do their rounds. So they've beaten a lot of great teams. They need to hit a couple more, and in a week or so, we might get that at the JBL Quantum Cup, where they can finally truly prove are they a top 2, top 3 team. We'll find out again. They'll test themselves again in a week or so.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, a lot of these other orgs, they've been playing longer. Obviously, that's never lost on anybody. But the other thing that comes with that is they've had multiple times to play against all the other top teams, right? And so not only do the rivalries get a little bit more baked, but you have more opportunities to, you know, take one from them, they take one from us, we go back and forth. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. You know, there's a couple of things that I want to make sure we talk about, and what, you know, we'll find the right ways to do this stuff, right? But this idea of like a fluky win, right? Let's just hit this one head on.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things to unpack on this one in my mind. But the first is that I can kind of see, you know, when you have a new team who just storms onto the scene, I think I can get where somebody would come from when they'd say that was a fluke, because it isn't like that, you know, the storied and historied matchup. As much as you can say that such a thing is even possible in a sport that's been going on for several months instead of decades, you do have multiple run-ins for a lot of these other teams with each other. So, you know, I'm not going to make excuses for anybody to try to explain it away, but it probably feels a little bit like people. I'm guessing the teams that are losing to 100 Thieves right now are like, yo, what just happened to us? That was wild. So, you know, we beat them 3 or 4 times, 5 times, and you start to get the sense that we've got their number. Whereas right now we have a lot of strats that they've probably not been able to see, new stuff we're pulling out that they've not run into in other teams. So it will be a different kind of test as the scene matures, and especially as we mature in it, to see if our success can be replicated longer term, I think.
It's interesting too that they openly acknowledge that. You know, there were I saw an interview with Hiko, I believe, where he alluded to this, and then definitely one with Dicey today that came out where he's talking about the need to, like, yeah, to make the rounds, like Simo was saying, and, you know, for all these teams to get a chance to see each other. I'll read you this quote from Dicey on specifically on Envy. He was asked, this is Run It Back, by the way, runitback.gg, said, do you feel, actually, no, I can't show this one. Run It Back asked, do you feel like 100 Thieves are the best team in North America now? He says, I feel like right now on our A game, we're better than a lot of teams. When I can put my foot down and say we are the best in NA is when we managed to defeat Envy with ease. Envy is the only team so far that just, like, they were really good against us. We didn't perform to the best of our abilities. We haven't beaten them solidly yet. After we do that, I feel we can put our foot down as the best. Right now, I feel we are a top 2 at least, or a top 3 contender for the best. So it's interesting that there's like some open acknowledgement of this, where these teams are getting to know each other. And some, I mean, like Dicey, that's a pretty mature way to look at it. Or if you're, you know, if you're hazed, yeah, right. And if you're hazed, you might, you know, go the fluke route, and it's a little bit more immature of a take, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, matter of fact, I've got the tweet here. This is from Hayes. He says, yeah, people really coming at me for saying it was a fluke. Next time I'll say, yeah, they were definitely the better team, and we won't beat them this time either. What a loser mentality, you know. And then I had to get mine in. I said, well, you were the ones who lost. That was your mentality. So I guess that I guess the loser mentality is his. But anyway, yeah, it's I think that definitely is a thing. And honestly, as a fan, I like it. I like that.
I love it.
That they feel
more of that.
Yeah, they feel this need to, first of all, to banter, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then second of all, just to, like, all right, we're still feeling each other out. Like, let's see what it really is. And 100 Thieves is not getting too high off of that one win, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of question that. I saw power rankings going into the main event, and my reaction was like, whoa, it feels like we're low. I think the one I saw had us below, like we were, I think 6 or 7. And I was like, how do you do that when we've won basically everything we've had a chance to win after Moon Raccoons?
After the left-hand model game, let's call it.
Yeah. So, but I think that this is the context that you would need to understand that power ranking, right? You can get hot as a team. You can get hot, and the meta can be in your favor, and you can have good strats for a weekend. And it's how you show up the next week, right? That's really going to start to cement you into that top 3 permanent fixture conversation that we'll have to see if we get there. I wanted to bring up too with the fluke piece, because I agree with you 100%, Cole. I love this, and I would never we should just talk about banter for a second, because I think for a lot of esports fans, they're coming from an esport where banter isn't really part of it, right? Gun games, it just tends to be much more of a thing. COD guys are always bantering, and there's some very famous moments at LAN events, right, involving COD guys and looking at each other, and sometimes it's not subtle, sometimes it is.
Right.
Like League of Legends, none of that. I don't think I've ever seen. Well,
yeah,
okay.
maybe double G2, but it's definitely on the rarer side. These are guys whose brains are so far into their game. Way. Yeah.
Like Double Lift's famous line is everyone else is trash. Who is he talking to? Like he trash talks in a way that doesn't single somebody out. Like you could assume who he's talking about, right? But he makes these generalizations. So I love the banter. More, please. You got to be able to not walk away from it though, and you cannot say in a tweet, people are really dragging me for saying that was a fluke, huh? Like, of course, that's banter. Like if you say that and then you lose, it is the obligation of the other team or the other team's fans or whoever to bring it back up and say, yeah, how about that fluke, right? Like
take it on the chin.
Not say it. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's great. I hope we see more of it. It helps to build up that rivalry feeling, right? Even if we'd say maybe on paper it's not there yet, but 100 noobs, fluke, like all this stuff, hoodie org, like these are the things that clearly fire up our players. And as fans, it's fun to revisit those matchups. And I think that Simo, you're right. Like we still have the hoodie org team to slot below us on the power ranking.
I have a couple of things that I also want to kind of like conditionary things.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't even know if that's a word. Sorry, kind of like
conditions
for
conditional.
Yeah, conditional. There we go. A couple of conditions to think about and things to kind of take with a grain of salt as you approach and you think about and you try to decompress this first strike event. I don't want to discredit what 100 Thieves did because they did a phenomenal job and they really deserved it. Every single player stepped up. There wasn't a single player that was slacking on 100 Thieves throughout the entire playoff run. Everybody showed up exactly when they needed to, and it was beautiful harmony. But here are some things to think about when you want to think about the bigger picture of this win. If you listen to Immortal Minds today, you found out that the match against Envy and TSM have scrimmed Envy plenty of times, and they usually get the best of TSM. They're comfortable with each other, but usually Envy is one step ahead of TSM. Well, they obviously didn't show up on that day. Something felt cold. Something felt off. We have no idea what we can pinpoint that on. Maybe a player wasn't feeling confident. Maybe they just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. There's no way to really identify what happened, but that was a map that was a series that Envy should statistically, based on the rankings, based on the performances, should have won, but didn't. And so when you think about that in the scale of all these other teams, anybody can beat anybody depending on the day, depending on the preparation, depending on how the team comes into the tournament feeling and prepared. And on top of that, you want to layer on the fact that 100 Thieves is playing from the compound and TSM, their players are scattered around the States and Canada. Like they're obviously going to be missing the mojo that 100 Thieves had in full swing there at that event.
Right,
I don't know if you guys know this, but they actually had to pull some of the performance coaches out of the room because Riot thought it was an illegal form of support. That support, well, like, what are you gonna do? Ban them to other parts of the compound as well? Because that was definitely helping the team.
They were scared of the Master Roshi buff, man.
Yeah, their camaraderie together was so helpful to the 100 Thieves victory, and I think that is one of the main things that has to be highlighted. And then one more thing. This patch, they played the entire open and close qualifiers on one patch, and then boom, first strike, different patch. So
Mhm.
people had to adapt to a new map. People had to adapt to
Yeah.
new agent compositions around Sky. And I still don't think we've truly seen the full potential of what something like Sky is capable of if Sage is back in the meta, where in Tarnation is Viper. There's still so many things that are still
In
under the
EU,
rug,
right?
I think. And EU, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. But I
Yeah.
think in NA, there's still so much that I think is under the rug, and we have yet to really pull it out and pull it underneath all these teams and see what's truly there. But still, 100 Thieves showed up. Whatever meta was being played, they were truly the kings of it during this event.
Yeah, no, I think those are great points. You know, and it kind of brings to mind, like, when you get these non-major events, maybe that's where we start to workshop some stuff, right? Do we see them bringing out new compositions, new agents? I think the big curveball from us was Hiko on Raze in map 1, right? Like, that was the big surprise. He wasn't on Sova. But what
Did you hear the
about?
story about that? You
No,
had
I'd love
to.
to. Yeah, I haven't heard it.
He woke up and he's like, I feel like playing Raze.
There it
They
is.
had never
That's all it takes.
they had never played Raze in scrims ever.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? It's been working on stream. Why don't we run it for the major? And then they just dumpstered. Oh, they don't dumpster. It went to
Yeah.
overtime or
It
whatever.
came
But
real close.
like Hiko woke
Yeah.
up. He's like, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, sign me up. I am now from South America. I throw paint shells. I throw a
Right.
showstopper.
I think
Sign
I
me up.
prefer-
That's what. Yeah.
even getting the dub on that map, I think I still prefer Asuna on it, because, you know, the 4K rocket is not a
Oh,
bad
yeah.
thing to have.
Yes.
Cole, Simo is bringing up just the team dynamic, having everybody in the same room. You know, you see the DAPs, you see the coaches pumping the guys up. I know you wanted to talk about resilience and just
Yeah.
the fact that these, I mean, map 1, like, look no further. We were dead to rights. Absolutely. We had no business winning that map.
Yeah.
For any number of reasons. You know, you got Raze. It's a map we don't practice or intend to practice. We kind of just, we take a pass on it. So it talked about that factor for this team, and specifically if that feels like one of our competitive advantages too.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've repeatedly called out, I think, ever since this new team got together, was that I'm surprised. Well, I used to be surprised that when we have like an obvious, like, oh gosh, we're really falling far behind, and you get into these pressure situations where it'd be really easy to just be like, all right, next map. You know, let's get that out of our heads, restart it.
Yeah.
We'll do better in the next map. Let's move on. We have this way of hanging around, right? And it's like you've seen that no matter who is playing bad, they can bounce back at like really critical moments, right? This is like, if I was to say that there is an identity of the team, I would say that this is up there as one of the major components of the 100 Thieves Valorant identity is composure and resilience. And that, quite honestly, like, I've never really been a fan of a team that has had that buff. Most of my teams crumble and fall.
Yeah.
I'm not used to not immediately counting out my team when we get behind. But I've
You're a
learned
LeBron
that.
fan, Cole. What are you talking about?
Well, okay, yes, this is
LeBron the
LeBron thing.
exception.
But even for a while, I mean, people will bring up 2011 for LeBron cracking. But no, it's just like I found myself during this run, during this past weekend, I was thinking, you know what? I'm just not gonna say it's over until I see how the map plays out. Like, I'm not gonna say it's chalk. And to have that belief as a starting point is a really amazing feeling for the team.
Yeah.
Now, as to talking about the team being together and
can I hit something on that before you move on to being in the same space?
Please.
I just think it's such an interesting observation you made, which is this team feels kind of unique. And I mean, maybe there's an example out there. If anybody knows it, chat, I'm looking at you. What team has done this, right? Has truly brought together the boomers and the zoomers, and done it in a way that it isn't just that you have a player coach in the game who's there to kind of like be a mature adult in the room, right? To say, no, guys, trust me. Like, I've been playing this game for longer than you've been alive. We should definitely do this right now. Hiko, MVP. He was the MVP of this series. He had an insane match. He was not there just to be mature. Like, he was there to click heads and clutch. And he did that so many times. So I kind of feel like, if there is something that you could point to say why the composure is so much a part of this team's DNA, like the mix of these guys is so unique. Hiko, Steel, Nitro being like basically kind of in the prime of his career, like just he's like winning tons of stuff in CS:GO, and then just deciding to change sports kind of on a whim. Or I'm sure it was on a whim, but like what most people would say is unexpected. And then you have these two young guys who just play with absolute, ice in their veins. Like, you can't shake these kids. It's crazy. So
Don't say that. No.
what?
No, it's just Marv Dunphase is the one that coined ice in the veins. So anytime I hear it, I think of FaZe Clan. I don't think of 100 Thieves. But listen,
All right, noted.
You
Is
don't
that
know,
like-
we'll let it slide.
I don't think I know that from Marv. I think that's a traditional sports thing.
Yeah, I was
but if
gonna
Marv
say I
has
think
it-
I know that for decades
but
and decades of
every
sports.
time he starts a best of 3, he tweets out a GIF of an NBA player pointing to his
Okay.
Oh,
forearm,
okay.
and
All right,
words
good to
come on
know.
the screen. It says "ice in the veins." So,
Yeah,
Noted.
I feel you.
Well, these
But-
kids are certainly unshakable. So
yes, yeah.
So that's cool. I think that's one of the things I'd say is, like, you can't really replicate that, right? This is a unique mix of players that I think you combine all those elements and you get what you're looking at here.
And that's where I was going with this is like, for them being together, it's like you're moving those young guys who haven't had the vast experience that these other dudes have had. Like, our boomers have been through the ringer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Hiko has been in a position where the pressure has overcome him and he's like, he's blown it.
Mhm.
He's had to learn the hard
Right.
way how to overcome that, which is why he's getting, what was it, like 9 clutches in that match or something ridiculous
It's
like
6, I think.
that? It was okay. And what I know is that it was
8
one,
total clutches.
one
He had
less
6.
8.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say it was the stat I saw was that he had 1 less than everybody else in the server combined.
Yeah.
Right. But he earned that, right?
Mhm.
And so when you have that personality to guide your guys, it's a great thing. When you have him in the room with those young guys, it's even better, right? Because like I'm gonna tell you right now, like if you're 17 years old and you're playing in a grand finals and you're by yourself in a room, and like look at Dicey, man. Dicey didn't have a great run this past weekend. He showed up a few really big moments. Overall, he underachieved relative to what he had done for us up to that point.
Right. He did not own Wardell.
No, he didn't. Means. Yeah, it wasn't 8-0. It wasn't jet diff this time. But he did not crumble. Like I said, he showed up and won 2 or 3 rounds at really key moments. Yep. He didn't just retreat. And if you are by yourself in a room with the pressure on, nobody around you to just like pat you on the back and be like, dude, we're cool. We got this, man.
Right.
Like, just come with me. I got you. Like, not having that would be a significant disadvantage. So I love that the team made that decision. I love that the personality breakdown of the team allows this kind of stuff to be possible. And yeah, just like the maturity in that sense gives me a lot of hope for the team going forward.
Yeah. Simo, I don't know if you have anything different to add for the identity, but one person neither Cole nor I talked about much yet was Steel. So I don't know either one of those topics, if you want to talk about identity or if you want to get into Steel, because I feel like he brought some stuff to this match that we had not seen previously. He was a terror.
So the way that the analyst desk had teed up this matchup is they really wanted to put the spotlight on Wardell and Dicey. And to be fair, I don't think Dicey has ever been this player that can be singled out like a Wardell, like a TenZ. Mm-hmm. He just shows up when his team needs to. And so as the series kind of continued, I thought it was more so Steel against Sabrosa. Because consistently they would find themselves in these 1v1 scenarios on B main or A main, on whatever map it was. They would find themselves in these engagements, holding angles or holding the line to to stop any mid-round flanks. And Steel just consistently got the better of Sabrosa, like
Yeah.
time and time and time again. And then when you put Steel in a position to anchor on these defensive halves, he just does so well. He puts himself in these cheeky spots. There's one that comes to mind that they played on Immortal Minds today, where he put the nano swarm and the alarm bot. His entire team had so much ground in the middle, so much ground down the ramp, and he just like, just that was the juiciest nano swarm ever. But I think for me, this entire series felt like I was watching like Endgame, like Marvel Avengers Endgame. And what it was like the Avengers and then like a bunch of Thanos's minions, and they all kind of had their own spotlight matchup. So it was like, Nitro and Hayes, right? Nitro and Cutler were battling off in one area, and then you had Dicey and Wardell, and they're fighting off, and Steel Sabrosa, and everyone's just going around with these little battles, and it just feels like eventually, Iron Man snaps and whatever. Spoilers, but the point, the fact of the matter is, I think
we're beyond the statute of limitations on spoilers.
Yeah, right. You don't know yet.
It just felt like these two teams, every individual player was going head to head with an individual player on the opposite side of the team. Everyone on 100 Thieves, though, came up bigger than the amount of times the TSM players came up big. Broza came up huge multiple times. Drone with the value on his Phoenix ults, he gets the most amount of frags per Phoenix ult I think I've ever seen in my life. So every member on TSM did show up. 100 Thieves really just showed up bigger. And you guys highlighted Hiko. I just highlighted Steel, but really it was a whole team effort that came together.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. Like the TSM guys, I mean, I don't think that they would look at it and say we had bad games or we didn't show up. I mean, Wardell was truly a horrifying person to be facing down. He got so many insane shots, like blind peaks,
no scopes.
No scopes. The no scopes he was pulling off.
Shotgun operator killed.
I mean, look, respect where it's due. He is truly one of the best players certainly in NA, and I have to imagine you'd say the world at this point. But I'm glad that that's what we got. Right? It's a bummer to watch one of these series and just see somebody who you would they would say wasn't my week or wasn't my weekend, or my day or whatever. Gosh, the whole thing feels like just one long thing. But
especially because in the last time we played TSM, it felt like we didn't get that Wardell, right? So
like
to have him be the final boss again, was excellent as a fan. To like, okay, let's overcome this. Yeah,
so exciting. It's such an exciting player to watch. So yeah, like as a 100 Thieves fan, I really enjoyed watching him. It was completely demoralizing because I was like, how many dudes, if it's a 3v1, I don't like our odds, even if he's got an op and he's standing in a weird position on site, he still has a good shot of pulling this off. So go ahead, Cole.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I'm trying to move to Dicey because I wanted to hit Dicey again. So if you've got something to say about Wardell before we
not about Wardell. Okay. I mean, I think we should at least mention that Asuna had, like, here's the other thing I'll say really quick. I've looked at the stats, right? And Hiko had by far what looks like a pop-off stat line. And a lot of the other guys have kind of their hits and misses. Like Cole's pulling up. Okay. Yeah. So, like there are matchups that we got beat on, as you talked about, Simo. The stats played out. The thing that I think is one of the most important things about this team is, like you talked about, right? The value of Steel in these weak side site defense, right? When he is the one person there with all of his cameras and his doodads and gadgets, like that's a hard site to crack, man. And the amount of delay he buys for our team to rotate there and reinforce, like I honestly feel good when he is on site, even if it is just him hanging out with a camera, right? Like he gets so much intel. He does such a good job of stalling. But that doesn't play on the stat line. You don't see that when you look at it. The other thing I was going to mention is Asuna and just the role he plays for this team. And he talked about it a little bit you know, how I love that. I can't remember where this quote showed up, right? But
Just get him his coconut water and you're set. You're all
that was
good.
dicey.
That's
Dicey's
dicey
coconut
with the
water.
coconut.
Very dicey.
Yeah.
But as soon as, you know, like he basically like it was after he took the jump pack towards the rocket, and he was like, I got to protect my boomers, you know, like that's my job. And you know, he kind of said it in a way, or at least I think a lot of people probably read it in a way where it's like, oh, that's funny, like
Well, and I think
Zoomers got to watch out for the boomers, you know. But I truly believe that that's how he plays his game, right? He views his role as, you know, his job is to get in there and disrupt. And if he dies, it's going to happen. But he's first one in, and he's a selfless player, right? And I think that just played out over and over again. And it gave him some really flashy highlight moments. You know, double kill in the smoke with the stinger, got the 4K with the showstopper. Like that stuff plays great on a highlight reel. But there are a lot of others. It was just a good trade, right? Or, you know, and then there were some where he didn't get anything. But I think Cole, to your earlier point, having a young guy like that who can play that role and not get discouraged when he hits tab and he sees that he's, you know, -5, they're like, hey man, you're doing exactly what you need to do. Keep doing it. Don't stop. Don't slow down. Get in their face. Disrupt. You're playing your role. I think that's huge to have a player like that who can just do a reset and come up with those highlight plays later on in a match, even when he's been thrown to the wolves.
Yeah. So I pulled up the tweet, by the way, while you were
Yeah.
talking, Jordan. He said, when you are the entry, you can't falter. Relentless aggression. I'm giving duelists to make sure my boomers do not die to rockets. I will gladly give up my life to watch them clutch.
See?
Yeah. Sounds like, I mean, you could see my reply there. This sounds like an anime quote coming from him. Literally
copy
does.
pasta,
It's
you know?
yeah, or like some kind of weird anime copy pasta. But
I
yeah,
believe it. I believe
yeah.
every word of it.
And that's like, so one of the things, again, we're guilty of always making a ton of traditional sports references, but you know, like when you have the different composition of like NBA teams, especially when you have guys who know whether or not they are like the superstar ball in the hands person or the role player. And like, this feels a little bit along those lines, like not necessarily like he's that or this, but just like that, like the guys know what they are supposed to do and are happy with that role. You know what I mean? Like I will gladly give my life to watch them clutch. Like that's awesome.
Right.
And you know what? It's fine anyway, because he's still picking up those sick plays along the way. You know, he's still like his showstopper was, in my opinion, the highlight play of the whole match. So yeah, he's still getting his chances to shine on there, but knows his role, does it. And it's like, and it plays so much to the strengths of the composition of this team that you just love to see it, man. Just love to see it.
I believe that showstopper kill was set up by Steele's camera, just to put that out there, because they were stacking, I think it was they're stacking A site so hard. I think it was at least a 4-person rush. He caught a glimpse of everybody, I think, with camera and called in reinforcements. Boom, showstopper. Finished that off real quick. So, all right. So we've hit on a lot of plays. We haven't talked about Nitro. You know, Simo, I'd love to hear you talk about Nitro a little bit if you have comments there.
Yeah, no, one of the things that I find super interesting about his play is, you know, similar to Steele, I often find Nitro in a position where he can hold the line for as long as he can. In that clip that they keep using of me casting, you know, Nitro with 1, Nitro with 2, Nitro with 3, whatever.
Yeah.
He's holding down a retake for his team.
Right.
What did he? I think he teleports back site, and they're taking the site as the attack.
Yeah. Oh, it has
like
teleport.
he's holding it down, and it doesn't matter if he dies. He's playing like Asuna.
Yeah.
He's not going to be that star player that's opening up with first bloods every round. That's Asuna. We know what the role is.
Yeah.
And it's just insane to think that normally teams have this one player that anchors well. You know, when I think about T1, I always think about Spider. And I always tweet this out whenever I see it. I'm like, man, Spider wishes he could be Nitro. Like Spider wishes so bad, because every single time Spider plays Haven on the C site, he sits in the back of Plat and he waits for the attack to come. And when they come, he's got a paranoia. He tries to blind him, tries to swing, take him down. Nitro always finds value from being behind plat, whether it's on the attack and a retake, whether it's a post plant scenario, and even not just in that plat spot, whatever the map is, wherever he's held up, he finds value in holding on to a post plant or finding ways to engage the retake. And the fact that he's able to find this value, he's such a valuable player. Not to mention,
Yeah.
I believe he might be the in-game leader. It's always like
Steel right now.
steel, and then it's
Yeah.
nitro, and then it's back to steel. So if it's steel
Right.
right now, then fine. But the fact that you can rely
Yeah.
on this guy to just hold things down for you, and then you've got steel to also hold things down for you, and then you've got
Right.
these phenomenal fraggers on the rest of the lineup. Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Where are you going to end up? Because you're always going to be held up by one or the other.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like we've got 5 glue players, right? Like you tweeted this earlier today, see, I think it was today, that everybody on 100 Thieves feels like a raid boss, and like what's going on here. But I think there's a lot of validity to that, right? Like each of these players has towering strengths in one area that in a round of Valorant, you're more than likely to find yourself faced with that challenge, right? Whether it's a retake where you need one guy in sight to really disrupt things and give you a chance for a 3K before you even get the rest of the team there. Or maybe he's the last guy in your team, and or the clutches that you just typically on a team, you don't have somebody who can do all of these things. I think for me, that's one of the real strengths of this squad so far is it just feels like, and even look at Dicey, right? Like he wasn't called on to do quite as much this series as he has in some of the other ones, but we've seen him devastate teams with the op. It can happen, so it just feels like a really well-rounded team at this point. I think that's got to be part of the challenge of trying to prepare for these guys is, it's like, okay, we run into steel, like, yeah, good luck with that. Do we try to stack a site and do something sneaky? Good luck with that. Do we split and then we're even odds against a team that is like all those guys can shoot. It's not like you're going to run into a slouch. I think that's one of the things I noticed about Nitro so much is it just feels like his shot is usually on. Like if he can get a position, that's how so many of those multi kills come. Is just he starts spraying and the bullets land. So yeah, I loved watching him, man. That was fun. I could say that about everybody on the team, I guess.
Yeah.
So
hey, can I toss out one more topic before we move to Incendiary? Is that cool?
Please. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and this topic is going to be, this is like actually kind of a bleed over to an LCS topic, but I just wanted to make an observation here for the fandom of 100 Thieves. And that is what this essentially amounts to, like the analogous thing for LCS would be winning a domestic title, right? Like winning a major is kind of like winning a split of LCS. It's like we just won the NA championship, the NA.
Especially if you think there's 3 of them. It's pretty close, right?
Yeah. So it's not Worlds. And quite frankly, we don't know what's going to happen with Worlds, especially when you got teams like Vision Strikers who are looking like untouchable. But the thing is,
the definition of untouchable. Yeah. They're undefeated.
But just think about how, like, as a 100 Thieves fan, think about how you are feeling right now. How that win in First Strike yesterday made you feel about this team, made you feel about this org, and made you feel about yourself as a fan. It's unbelievable. Look how much like happiness and satisfaction and fun this has brought us, and then how much legitimacy this has brought us, how much pride is there. The thing is, when we talk about LCS, we've been talking about like Worlds or nothing, right? This whole time.
Yeah.
I'm submitting to you guys, as I have been for the last little while, I really think that there would be tremendous value for us in getting a domestic LCS title and being proud of that. Like, this is like that for us, and we feel like we're on top of the world. You know what I mean?
That's true. Cole, you're right.
This is why I don't want to when I talk about the LCS team, I say, to me, it's more like stepping stones. It's not like, oh, we made Worlds, so that's better than winning a title. No, it's like, win the title, then worry about getting out of groups at Worlds. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this, to me, this past weekend for Valorant has felt like proof of that concept. Like, look, with Valorant, we don't know what's going to happen when we go up against these other regions. It could get ugly. We could be Team Liquid. We could be Double Lift. We could never get out of the groups. You know what I mean? We don't know yet. But we do know that winning the domestic round has made us feel unbelievable. So I'm just putting that out there for everybody's consideration when we're talking about what our priorities are, which order we want things to happen, and whether or not a split counts or not. Like, let me just say that, and then I'll step back off my soapbox out of the way. Jordan, back to you.
It is submitted, Cole, to the record. A couple things I'll say to take this analogy further. It'd be like saying that winning a major, Anaheim, London, that isn't good because we didn't win COD champs, which nobody has ever said. And, the fact that we didn't win COD champs doesn't lessen those in any way. If I had to guess why that's such a thing in League, it's because this entire region has a monkey on its back and it's Worlds, right? And I think the domestic titles have been cheapened because we have just had this continued failure. So
I'm just saying it's very likely that we're going to have that same monkey on our back in Valorant.
That's true.
It's very likely.
And right now, it
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter right now. 3 years from now, if we've never beaten another team from outside NA, people will say, "Oh, great, good job. You've won a piece of cloth to hang from your ceiling." That's a trophy that you can put in your case, and then everyone will go watch Korea. So I get you. Let's enjoy this moment.
Hold on.
Also, yeah.
Hold on.
No, yeah.
Oh,
there's
Simo
always
has
a hold
response.
Hold on.
There's always time for that.
I just want to say one thing. I understand where you guys are coming from, but when people look back and they ask themselves, who was the first North American team to dominate the region? 100 Thieves didn't dominate the region. They won the first ever big thing. Whatever that big thing was, they were the first ones to do it. So regardless of what happens down the line, we lose to Vision Strikers 13-0. Whatever happens, like that's a resume. It's forever on the record, regardless of how many failures come in the future in the world championships. It's still such a big thing to say that you were the first in NA to win the big NA thing, where so many teams had to go through the open qualifiers and then to the closed qualifier. You're the first team. That's it. Like, there's no, Ignition Series doesn't matter. First Strike was the big way to end the first ever year of North American Valorant. You guys won it, and that's forever going to go down in history. And Hazed and all the other teams can say as much as they want. You guys did it. Like, there's no taking that away.
Yeah, Hayes can say whatever he wants. Well said there.
Thanks
Simo.
for saying that, Simo. It's important to have somebody bring us down or back to earth. We're already getting ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself here, thinking about 3 years from now when I'm wallowing in the world's misery of another esport.
You're acting like you've lost Worlds, and you're not. Like, you haven't even qualified for it, and you're like, "Oh man, we lost."
Yeah. What can I say? The inferiority complex runs deep from League. I can't take it that easily.
I'm just saying, I'm coming from a place of pride with this. I'm taking pride in the domestic title.
I'm there. I'm with you. I'm not undercutting this in any way. I am happy, and I think it's something to be celebrated, which we will and we are. All right, look, it's been fun talking to you boys about these topics. That was more of a jiggle peek. We're gonna try to bring it back to at least something like a quick peek here. Cole, we got 8 minutes. I'm looking at my producer here. We got 8 minutes to do this. We buy 8 minutes. Okay. I want to do some incendiaries. Cole, can you hit us with a molly?
Molly.
There it is.
that was me saying it because I know you can't hear it.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it. You did a good job. We got a couple takes. I want to take you guys through, and I'm going to put 4 minutes on the clock for each one.
Okay. I don't have I'll let.
That's fine.
I'm
running my own clock.
I'll do it. Okay.
You got it?
No, I'm not. Okay, you run your own clock.
I'm doing my own clock. I'm doing my own clock. We're doing it live. 4 minutes on the clock. And if we don't need 4 minutes, we'll use less than 4 minutes. But there's no more than 4 minutes for this. Okay, I'll read the first take to you guys. This one's coming from Niklpolka. He storied, ranked League of Legends climber who longtime Discord regular. So here it is, Nikl. I think that this Valorant win should show some of the fans who are all into development and stuff on the league side that going out and spending money for established players is usually the best way to win in esports. We def have the most expensive roster in NA Val, and it worked out. We had 3 established CSGO stars and the 2 Zoomers who were already smurfing on IMT before we picked them up. We went with players we knew were very good. If you want to win in this space, you have to spend the money. What do you guys think? We didn't talk about the, Cole, somebody's on Twitter said bought today, and you're like, yeah, welcome to a brand new esport. Everybody is literally bought. So
yeah, teeing me up. See, I'm glad you brought that up because I was like, yeah, like, what do you mean? Like every team has just come together. We didn't have time to home grow our products through our academy system. Like, give me a break. So in that sense, yes, for sure. The best way at this moment to be good at Valorant is to buy the best players that money can buy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can dismiss that. So as a time capsule take, that's very good, and I'm good with it. Like, for right now in Valorant, that works. And I will say, in general, it's like, it's winning in esports, especially, like even more than traditional sports where you have the draft to kind of compensate. Winning in esports is self-perpetuating. You know what I mean? Because then winning brings fans and brings viewers and brings money and brings the ability to attract free agents to sign with you and all that, right? So like, it's a very self-perpetuating thing to win. And sometimes to win, you gotta spill a bag. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta go out and get perks or whatever to make sure that your team is in position to win. So in general, I do very much agree with this take that it's like, yes, spend the money, make the commitment to the esport, and that's the best way to get there in general. Now, that's not the full job, and you have to be able to scout. You have to be able to develop. Like, those things are going to happen because not every player on your team is going to be like a superstar, right? There are only so many superstars to go around. So you can't just sign all of them unless you're maybe G2. But and I'm talking about League of Legends.
I'm just going to say one word, and that's all you need to know. That's it. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to drop the mic. Ready? Here we go. Here's the mic. Here's the mic. Lakers.
Look at that. Somebody else bringing in traditional sports, so we don't have to.
That's why Simo fits in so well with us.
Yeah. I think did you want to expand on that take, or is that Simo? Are you?
He said one word.
Listen,
I didn't want to assume.
They won. Why did they win? Because they bought things. What did they buy with the things that they wanted to buy? They bought players. Who are these players? Oh, LeBron and several other of his friends who golf at the golf country club weekly, make millions of dollars playing basketball for signing 1-year contracts. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, buying players makes money. Of course it does.
Well, and that's, I mean, if you look at the Anthony Davis acquisition, right? Like, for people who may not be aware, the Lakers gave up like basically an unprecedented amount of assets in order to get Anthony Davis on their team. Like, they gave away their future basically with all the draft picks and players that they gave up for him. It was seriously like 7 or 8 assets for the one superstar. That's and without AD, they don't win that title. You know what I mean? So there is very much a thing like that. I'm just saying there still is. You got to scout. You got to be able to sign it, especially as the scene develops. The older a scene gets, the more those things become important. You know what I mean? But for right now, and look at this, and I'm sure we're well over our 4 minutes, Jordan. So I'm sorry about that.
45 seconds, Cole. You're good.
Well, I'm going to take more.
I was hoping to get a word in, so save me 30.
You may not. No, so here's the thing, though. It's like 100 Thieves, they took a swing at doing this a different way. They said, let's get the high grounds guys. They look like they're promising. They've got built-in synergy. Let's just pick them up and pair them with someone we know is an absolute beast. Mm-hmm. They tried it that way and it didn't work. And kudos to them for having the courage to make that change. Be like, look, took a swing. We gave it, a short run. From what we're seeing, we're not happy with it. So we're going to disband. That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing for 100 Thieves fans. And I'm sure it was a little embarrassing for the org as well. But they believed in their read on the situation. And guess who took a title away as a result? Like, that's not a small thing. Like, they very much tried to do something a little more measured, a little more clever, and it didn't work. And they had the courage to be like, all right, let's buy it then. Let's get these players in order.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll add, I get to do this since I was timekeeper. We're at time, but I'm going to add my final closing comment here is the player, Nitro and Steel weren't available when we first signed a roster, right? Like, it's not like we looked at those guys and said, let's not buy those guys. Let's go with these guys. So in that sense, neither were they available when anybody else made their Valorant roster. So if you're doing a retrospective on the high grounds situation, the decision to start fresh, that gave us access to a new pool of talent who was otherwise occupied when everybody else was putting their rosters together. So it really worked out. It's not so simple as just, calling the 5 best players and saying, I've got a blank check with your name on it. I mean, the right pieces have to fall in place. The right things have to have happened for you to even be able to sign them.
Yeah, and as my brother Kret DZ in chat is pointing out, like, about the LeBron situation, once they got LeBron and AD, the other pieces started to fall into place. And I'm absolutely sure that once 100 Thieves got both Steel and Nitro and put him with Hiko, it was like, okay, other players are going to pick up the phone. They're going to answer that call. You know what I mean? That core is a freaking scary core.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not to mention that, like, imagine a world where he was like, it's no secret that he was obviously going to be fielding multiple offers at once, right? Like, it's not like so clear cut that he was just going to go straight to 100 Thieves. Like, Energy was looking to try to build something out at the time. Nbox was looking to build something out at the same time, I think.
Yeah, I think they've said they had multiple offers, these guys, right?
I think even, unfortunately, Cloud9 would have loved that window because I think they're going to be restructuring as well. So there's just, like, 100 Thieves is just an org that I think that no matter when they come calling, Nbox Energy, I'm sorry, you just don't have that same level of clout. You just don't have that same level of pizzazz that 100 Thieves does. It's a pretty easy sell. Not to mention that, like, for Steel, I'd imagine he's walking into that. He's like, oh, Hiko's a part of the core roster. Easy.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Easy for me. Easy decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, now that we've won, that is just going to get easier. You know what I mean? That's just going to get perpetuated. So sorry, Jordan, for taking all of the time.
That's okay.
Let's hit the other one.
Okay. Let's add even more time, Cole. There's no rules here. Our sponsors aren't begging us to get off the air.
Hey, it's more time where I'm drinking this Rip It right here.
Rip It.
Sponsored
by
Sip
Rip
the
It.
Rip. Sip the Rip. Stupid.
You know why we can keep going, Cole? So you've been drinking Rip It. There you go.
That's
right.
All right, Cole. Next take. Simo, you ready?
Yes. Let's do it.
Final take. Final take.
4 and 15 minutes on the clock. Here we go. This one coming from Founders Badge holder Millatyme himself. The fact that a newly formed team, 2 months for those keeping track, is able to win the tournament speaks volumes to Steel's point of view of his point of how vanilla current NA Valorant teams are playing. Yes. Top teams are going to have to adapt and or go through roster changes to implement strategy before and during games. This does not necessarily mean agent combinations, but actually the way to get the most out of each agent, the team comp, the composition they're playing against, and their play style to earn rounds on specific maps. 100T doesn't even have good split strategy, and they were able to pug, according to Hiko, and win versus TSM. Split,
which I understand to mean kind of just play it without having practiced it. That's how I understand pug.
We're picking up on the lingo as we go.
Pick up game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm following.
Too many teams are relying on their clear individual player strengths, such as FaZe, and not putting in the work to develop as a team. Simo, you want to take this one at the start?
Yeah. No, I'll kick things off, and I think it's also important to note what I had identified earlier, that, like, I still think with Icebox being relatively new, Sky being relatively new, seeing how Europe plays around Breach and Sage and Viper, and how NA is like, oh, that kind of looks cute on the other side of the pond. That looks very fun to do. Even Hayes even admitted today on Immortal Minds, he said, yeah, we took a lot of our strategies from Vision Strikers, currently the undefeated team in Korea. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think as North America is starting to develop their own kind of play style, I think we'll, like, in CSGO, there's clear defined roles, and similar to Valorant, there are clear defined roles as well. There's supportive players, there's entry players, there's op players. But I think as the meta develops and we see how NA teams kind of develop their own style, I think the number one thing is that maybe not all teams gel the most perfect way that 100 Thieves is gelling currently, right? It just like you guys keep talking about it over and over again. Like this team just fits just like a glove. Like every piece works so well. And we even saw that against TSM. But I think in the bigger picture of the NA Valorant scene, it would be amazing to see different teams, I guess, kind of swap those rosters around. So like this offseason is going to be beautiful because we'll see now if you put the right pieces in place, do you actually see better results?
Right. Yeah, it's hard to remember sometimes that this game, the scene, the competitive kind of um the assets, the strategies, like it's all young still,
Yeah.
right? It feels like we've been
Not
watching
even
Dom
a
for a long
year.
time.
We haven't
Yeah,
even had
not
an
even a year.
anniversary. We haven't even celebrated the life of Valorant. And people are like, oh man, these teams, they're
Right,
so
right.
bad. Like we're not even, it's just
Yeah,
such a new game.
yeah. Well, and I think that's, if there's anything to take from this, it might be that, and kind of more, I'm thinking about Steele's comments, right? But when you have people like you do on Earth, these who have game sense from other titles, right, that they can bring to these games, and I feel like we started to really see that in the grand final with some of the stuff that they were doing, right? The way they were disrupting TSM, the surprises that they kind of pulled on them. It felt a little bit like we had, um, you know, we had a strategy there that was unexpected by TSM and that they weren't prepared for. Like I think of just there were a couple great shots. I think Nitro had one where he lined up a couple people, and he took, 6 shots, had 2 kills before anybody else even turned to him. Right. It's like those kinds of moments are coming from us having a plan. For a lot of these maps, I just don't know if other people are there yet on. Cole, what do you think?
Well, and kind of coming back around to the totality of this for Millatyme, which I think is a rock solid take. Like I totally agree with what he's saying here. There's do you remember like a little while back where it was like, all right, which game is actually going to translate the best to Valorant? Because there's some like, oh man, maybe like Overwatch could actually translate well since it's so ability based
Right.
and role based. Or but no, it's CS:GO because it's a tactical shooter. There was like this debate over like how things would translate. One thing we're seeing is that yes, it has obvious commonalities with some of these other games, but there's so much in there that you don't get to see, and so like we're scratching the surface on what's possible. Like something that Steele has talked about endlessly is about like the agents themselves, the abilities, the expression that's available with them. Like in CS:GO, I'm sorry, but you don't get to dodge like a grenade with a double satchel, like launch into the air, like we saw in this past. You know what I mean? Like you don't get to do stuff like that in CS:GO. We're scratching the surface with what the entire breadth of this game has to offer, and so it's like it's foolish to assume that things have been like figured out,
Right.
in
It's not a solved
any
game.
sort of way,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, we haven't solved. We don't know how to
100%.
play the best Valorant, and we're not gonna know for a very long time. Which is actually for us as fans, we win that way, right?
Yeah.
Because we get to see a variety of stuff come to the table, and like, oh wow, like that works. How do you defend against that? Like we're going to get to see those moments as we go on, and so having someone like Steele who sees the need to innovate and let's just test some stuff and see what's possible with these agents and see what's possible on these maps. Like,
Well, not to mention new agents.
That's a huge, and new agents are going to be coming out.
Yeah.
So it's like a huge advantage to have someone who's always in that mindset instead of like, well, let's figure out what other teams are doing and do it, So I rock solid take from Miller on this one.
Well done to both of our incendiary takers of the week. Cole, Simo, we're like way over time. I think we should probably just about wrap this
real
thing up.
one shout out for Simo to hang with us. So this is usually a 30-minute show. Simo is in it for the long haul.
I will just say one thing and one thing only that I always think about. I just love talking about Valorant. That's it. Like there's no doesn't matter with who, doesn't matter how. It could be with like a homeless dude on the side of the street. Like, it doesn't matter. Just like Valorant, so I want to talk about it.
Well,
Doesn't matter
we're always
where.
happy to have you talking about Valorant to us. It makes us smarter.
Yeah,
know
and
that-
it raises the average IQ of the
Yeah.
podcast so much. So we really appreciate that, man.
All right, what comes next, guys? We've got Simo. You'd mentioned this cup. I don't know. It sounds like we're not confirmed as participating, but
No.
your point earlier, or maybe you mentioned before we went live, but seems like we'll be in that as we've been, kind of blowing up this JBL stuff all week as a organization. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Maybe there'll be something else to watch.
Listen,
Maybe they'll give the boys a week off. Who knows? We'll see.
50K on the line. I know you said somebody in the chat, Burnt Cooter. I'm looking at you saying that you think it's going to be a little bit of a fluke event. Okay, Burnt Cooter. I'm going to put you on the burner right now.
Ooh,
50K on the
getting
line.
burned.
Oh,
50K on the line. Teams hate when they have nothing to play for. Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
50K and another chance of redemption to say no. That grand finals was a fluke.
He couldn't get it out. Almost
Yeah.
got it. Almost got it.
by the way, he's going to be thrilled because that's the first time his name has been said in full on our stream, and you did it twice. So congratulations to BC, who's been waiting for this moment.
Validated. Finally, it's come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, keep an eye on the social to see if we're playing Valorant again. Because if we're playing again, I'm watching again. That's a guarantee. It's been so fun to watch. We got a trophy. I'm sure they're stitching up a banner right now, getting the hoist out to hang it from the rafters.
Getting the hoist out for the banner and the heist out for the YouTubes. I know that we're going to have a fire content piece coming, so I'm really looking forward to that. And in the meantime, everybody, enjoy the biggest dub. Just enjoy it, man. Talk your talk on Twitter. Do what you need to do, but let's just enjoy this dub. 100 Thieves are your NA Valorant champions. And it feels so right.
100 Thieves and
Timo
champions.
is happy. 100 Timo. 100 Timo is very content.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, you can't lose. It's not possible. All right.
We look forward to
we're gonna
talking
wrap
to you
the
guys
pod.
soon. Yeah.
We'll if everybody stick around, we'll raid somebody. Send somebody
Oh,
few viewers.
yes. Thanks for the reminder.
Is John Robinson tweeting? Let's raid.
Let's see if he's up.
Let's see if John.
Hey,
I don't think
thanks
John's
for
streaming
watching.
yet.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back again. We'll do some more fast peeking here. It's going to be a fun year of Valorant. We got a lot to look forward to. So, thank you, everybody. We love you. We miss you already.
Take care. We just roll swapped on the pod closing. It's getting nutty around here. Hey, let's raid Jess Dot from 100T. Thank you for the suggestion, Sandwich. Let's do it. Everybody, thanks for being with us. Stay with us for the raid. Let's go.
Bye, y'all.
We're still going. Boom. Let's go. All right. See you.